Hi, my name is Amy, and I work as a nurse. After another bustling day at the local hospital, a place I'm grateful doesn't require night shifts, I finally arrived home, a little later than usual. I'm home, I called as I stepped through the door. Welcome back, came the cheerful reply from my 8-year-old daughter, Janice. Janice spends many afternoons alone, waiting for me to come home. It tugs at my heart to see her so self-reliant at such a young age, and I often feel guilty about it. Still, I know I'm fortunate compared to some of my colleagues who work erratic hours in less family-friendly environments. "Where's your dad today?" I asked while hanging up my coat. "He hasn't come home yet," she replied, a hint of sadness in her voice. "It feels like I haven't seen him in forever. My husband, Jack, is a workaholic. When he is home, it's like having a stranger at the dinner table. On his days off, he's usually at his mother's house, either tending her garden or having dinner with her. Meanwhile, he's missed every one of Janice's soccer games and spelling bees, a reality that's put a significant strain on our family." "I'm sorry you're alone so often, honey," I said, feeling the weight of our situation. "It's okay, Mom," Janice replied bravely. "You're here every day, and that's enough for me." I hugged her tightly, wishing our life could be different, more like a typical family that spent time together every evening. Then, one evening, Jack came home early. The dinner table was unusually quiet until, out of the blue, he broke the silence. "Hey, why don't we go to Hawaii for the holidays?" he suggested. I was stunned. After all this time, Jack was suddenly proposing a family trip. We hadn't taken a proper vacation in years. Janice's face lit up with excitement. "We can go to Hawaii? I want to go! I want to go!" she exclaimed, her joy infectious. Reluctantly, I agreed. I had mixed feelings, especially when I realized Jack had planned the trip around his mother Charlotte's birthday, but I couldn't deny Janice this chance to experience something special. The day of the trip arrived, and both Jack and I had busy schedules. We planned to meet at the airport, but my shift ran late. Janice and I barely made it in time, arriving breathless and frazzled. But when we looked around, Jack and Charlotte were nowhere to be seen. Confusion turned to frustration. Where could they have gone? I tried calling Jack, but his phone went straight to voicemail. Worried, I approached the airline desk for assistance. "Are you Amy Martin?" a staff member asked as she walked over. "Yes," I replied, startled. "I was asked to give this to you," she said, handing me a small note. My heart sank as I unfolded the paper and read the words scrawled in Charlotte's handwriting. "It'll just be the two of us on this trip. If you can't be on time, we won't wait for you. Why don't you just camp out somewhere? Bye, Charlotte." My stomach churned, and Janice looked up at me with wide, anxious eyes. "What's wrong, Mom?" Forcing a smile, I tried to shield her from the truth. "Oh, it's nothing, sweetie. It looks like your dad and Grandma went ahead without us. I'm so sorry, but it seems we can't go to Hawaii." "But can't we get on another flight and go after them?" she asked, hope gleaming in her eyes. I hesitated. The cost of a last-minute flight was more than I could afford. "Yes, we can try," I said, hoping my voice sounded convincing. Just then, a commotion nearby caught my attention. An elderly man collapsed a few steps away. Instinctively, I rushed to his side, my nurse training kicking in. He wasn't breathing. I quickly cleared his airway, finding it blocked by a bit of vomit. "Someone, call an ambulance," I shouted while administering first aid. Paramedics arrived swiftly and took the man to the hospital, where he eventually regained consciousness. When he opened his eyes, he looked at me and asked, "Were you the one who saved me?" "Yes," I replied modestly. "I just did what anyone would do." "That's not true. The man, Raymond, said, his expression softening with gratitude. Thank you so much. I thought I was done for. We chatted briefly, and he insisted on showing his appreciation, though I assured him it was all in a day's work. So, were you traveling somewhere? Raymond asked. His question brought me back to reality, and I explained the chaotic turn of events. Yes, we were supposed to catch a flight to Hawaii, I said, feeling a pang of disappointment, but we missed it because of my work schedule. Raymond's face grew sympathetic. That's a shame. Raymond's kind words from earlier echoed in my mind as the hotel staff explained. We received explicit instructions from the chairman to prioritize the comfort of his valued guests. Unfortunately, abandoning said guests doesn't reflect well on one's character, and thus accommodations for them have been declined. Jack's face turned red, a mixture of anger and embarrassment. This is ridiculous, he blurted, but his voice lacked its usual confidence. Charlotte, however, was less restrained. Who does this Raymond think he is? We are family. I stood there, trying to process the moment. For once, I felt an unexpected sense of vindication. It was clear that Jack and Charlotte were experiencing the consequences of their actions, and for the first time in years, I wasn't the one left to pick up the pieces. Janice tugged on my hand and whispered, "Mom, are we in trouble?" Her innocent concern pulled me out of my thoughts, and I knelt down to reassure her. No, sweetheart, we're not. We're going to enjoy our trip just like we planned. Straightening up, I turned to Jack and said calmly, "We'll talk when we're back home. Right now, Janice and I are going to enjoy Hawaii." Without waiting for a reply, I took Janice's hand, and we walked back toward the lobby. As we moved further away, I caught a glimpse of Jack looking torn, glancing between me and Charlotte. For once, the choice he had to make was clear, and it was one only he could face. The rest of our trip was like a dream. Janice and I explored the island, swam in crystal-clear waters, and even attended a traditional luau. Each day brought new adventures and moments that reminded me of the joy in life. Moments that had been overshadowed by the constant tension of our family dynamic. One evening, as the sun set over the ocean, painting the sky in brilliant hues of orange and pink, Janice turned to me with a wide smile. "Mom, this is the best trip ever." I hugged her tightly, my heart swelling with love and a newfound resolve. It is, isn't it? And there are so many more adventures waiting for us. In that moment, I realized that while I couldn't change Jack or his choices, I could choose what kind of life I wanted for myself and my daughter. And perhaps, just perhaps, this trip to Hawaii was the start of something new, something better. As Jack stared at Raymond's business card, his face turned pale. This is from a major client of mine," he stammered, his hands trembling. Beside him, Charlotte looked equally shaken. "Are you telling me you know the chairman of this company?" she asked, her voice unsteady. "Yes," I replied evenly. "I helped him when he collapsed at the airport. To thank us, he arranged our flight and this hotel stay." Charlotte's face drained of color completely, and she swayed slightly, prompting Jack to steady her. "Mom, are you okay?" he asked, though his own voice wavered with panic. Trying to process the unexpected revelation, Jack muttered, "He's in my gym club. I see him sometimes, but I never imagined this." His voice trailed off as he realized the weight of the connection. I let the silence hang for a moment before continuing. "He also found the note you left us at the airport." Jack and Charlotte froze. "He read it," I said pointedly, watching the dawning horror on their faces, "and he wasn't impressed." "What note?" Jack muttered defensively, though his voice lacked conviction. "The one where you suggested we camp out when we missed the flight," I reminded him, my tone steady but edged with quiet anger. Raymond couldn't believe how dismissive you were to your own family. He called it unforgivable. Charlotte's composure finally cracked. But he doesn't know the whole story, she protested weakly. Oh, he knows enough, I replied, including your last name. Turns out Raymond knows you from the gym. Charlotte. Small world, isn't it? Jack and Charlotte exchanged frantic glances, their confidence crumbling. I couldn't help but smirk at the irony. Well, I said, taking Janice's hand, since you planned this trip together, I guess we'll just enjoy it on our own. Maybe you two could camp out under the Hawaiian stars instead. How's that sound? That's terrible. You're the rudest person ever, Charlotte snapped, her outrage blind to the hypocrisy of her own words. I simply chuckled. Funny, that's exactly how I felt when you sent us that note. Turning away, I led Janice toward the lobby, leaving them to argue with the hotel staff. The hotel has no rooms for you, the staff informed them firmly, forcing Jack and Charlotte to leave. From that moment on, the vacation truly became ours. The bond between Jack and Janice was nearly severed, and I felt no urgency to repair it. Raymond's kindness had transformed what could have been a disastrous experience into an unforgettable adventure. Janice and I swam in crystal-clear waters, explored breathtaking landscapes, and enjoyed every moment of our luxurious stay. Each day brought us closer together, and by the time we returned home, we were brimming with joy and gratitude. Jack, on the other hand, returned exhausted and defeated. As it turned out, Raymond's influence reached further than I had imagined. No hotel in Hawaii would accommodate them, leaving Jack and Charlotte to camp outdoors. To make matters worse, Jack faced consequences at work when his boss informed him that Raymond's company was considering canceling their contract due to his behavior. Meanwhile, Charlotte's gym friends distanced themselves from her, and she eventually stopped attending altogether, retreating into a lonely, sedentary life. The ordeal clarified one thing: my marriage was over. Jack and I divorced, with Janice's custody naturally going to me. I didn't seek alimony or child support, I didn't need it. I was confident in my ability to provide for my daughter on my own. Looking back, the entire experience felt surreal, as if fate itself had intervened. Being late to the airport that day had set everything in motion, leading to a chance encounter with Raymond. That simple act of kindness had reshaped our lives, opening doors to a brighter future. Now, with Janice by my side, I felt whole. Her laughter and love outweighed any sadness from the past. Together, we looked forward to a new chapter filled with happiness and endless possibilities, just the two of us.